Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. This one Yellowstone scene convinced me Rip was the show's most likable Dutton character. One Yellowstone scene convinced me Rip, Cole Hauser, is the most likable Dutton character despite not being born into the family. The ranch foreman appears in Yellowstone Season 1, Episode 1, and evolves into one of the most essential characters in the franchise by the Yellowstone Season 5 finale. While John Dutton IE, Kevin Costner, and Kelly Reilly's Beth are outstanding characters in the franchise and comprise the other most likable Duttons in Yellowstone, Rip has qualities that make him even more amiable than his two closest contacts. While a history of violence surrounds Rip's pursuit to protect the ranch for John Dutton, the character evolves beyond a violence-centered existence as his sweetheart, Beth, returns to the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch to help her father protect it. Rip Wheeler's best moments are arguably alongside John Dutton's daughter, who has a mean streak but brings out the best of the ranch foreman. Yellowstone audiences also have an informed understanding of Rip's place on the ranch due to flashbacks to his adolescence, which enhance the character's likable qualities. Beth and Rip have dozens of fantastic scenes throughout Yellowstone's 5 seasons, but one cements Rip as the most likable Dutton in my mind. In Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 5, Watch Em Ride Away, Rip has an encounter with Beth that makes him virtually impossible not to like. As Rip fiddles with horse riding gear in the barn, Beth asks why. Rip tells her he's getting Carter, Finn Little, ready to ride up the mountain for the spring gather, where Rip and the other cowboys will camp as they round up cattle to receive the Yellowstone Ranch brand. When she finds out that her father is attending, Beth asks Rip, "Well, can you outfit me too?" Initially, Rip is surprised, reminding Beth that there are no tents or bedrolls and everyone will sleep on the ground. When Beth starts to feel rejected after Rip doesn't meet her request, saying that she will fly to Vegas and get a suite at the Wynn, Rip humorously pleads for his wife to come. It endeared Rip to me that he could be so kind to Beth in the face of her scorn, whether she deserved the kindness or not. Yellowstone Season 5 scene proves Hauser's character has evolved into the most likable Dutton. Rip's partnership with Beth brings out some of his best qualities. Another memorable scene for Rip that allowed me to appreciate him more deeply is when Beth informed Rip in Yellowstone Season 2 that John was giving him a house, calling him a son, after Beth told her father she needed to treat the ranch foreman with more dignity. Beth reads Rip a letter in which John Dutton calls Rip his kin, proving the Dutton patriarch considered Rip one of his own. Even if John didn't consider Rip a son, a title the ranch foreman certainly has earned, Beth and Rip officiated the foreman's place in the family in the Yellowstone Season 4 finale. Beth kidnapped a priest to tie the knot between her and Rip, making for one of Beth's best Yellowstone moments. The development meant that Rip was officially a Dutton despite his complicated legal history, which generally keeps him off the books. All that said, Rip deserves to be considered an official family member, as he is just as Dutton as the rest of the Yellowstone clan. From the very beginning of Yellowstone *, Rip Wheeler has been a standout character. As John Dutton's right-hand man, enforcer, and fiercely loyal protector of the Yellowstone Ranch, Rip embodies the wild, rugged spirit of the West. His tough exterior, often marked by unrelenting violence and unwavering dedication, might make him seem intimidating or even ruthless. However, there's one particular scene that convinced me that Rip was the most likable member of the Dutton family. In a world of morally gray characters, his actions in this moment stood out, revealing a depth of emotion, loyalty, and unexpected tenderness that set him apart. ###, a moment of raw humanity. The scene that changed everything for me takes place in Season 3, Episode 7, titled The Beating. Throughout the show, Rip has always been the silent protector, the one who does the dirty work for the Duttons without hesitation or complaint. But in this episode, we see a rare glimpse of his vulnerability. Beth Dutton, the love of his life, has just suffered a brutal attack in her office, an ambush orchestrated by enemies of the Duttons. She's left battered, bruised, and emotionally shattered. When Rip finds her afterward, what follows is one of the most poignant and heart-wrenching moments in the entire series. As soon as Rip lays eyes on Beth, his face transforms from its usual stoic mask to sheer anguish. He kneels beside her, gently cradling her face with a tenderness that contrasts so sharply with the violence that usually defines his world. In that moment, he isn't just the Yellowstone enforcer, he's a man deeply in love, a man who has spent his entire life protecting Beth from the dangers of the world but couldn't shield her from this. ###, the power of love without words. Rip doesn't need to say much in this scene. His presence alone speaks volumes. Beth, who is known for her ferocity and sharp tongue, doesn't try to hide her pain from him. Instead, she allows herself to be vulnerable, knowing that Rip is one of the few people in the world she can trust completely. He carefully helps her up, treating her with a gentleness that makes it clear how much he cherishes her. The unspoken understanding between them is what makes this scene so powerful. Rip doesn't ask Beth for details about what happened. He doesn't need to. All he cares about is making sure she knows he's there for her, that he would burn the entire world down if it meant keeping her safe. ###, the contrast to the other Duttons. What makes Rip so likable in this moment is how it contrasts with the rest of the Dutton family. John Dutton, for all his wisdom and strength, often struggles to show affection in a way that feels genuinely warm. Case Dutton, though loving, is constantly torn between his loyalty to his father and his own family. Jamie Dutton, well, he's Jamie, riddled with insecurities and questionable morals. But Rip is steadfast. Rip is reliable. Rip doesn't waver in his love for Beth or his loyalty to the ranch. In this moment, Rip shows a capacity for love that none of the Duttons quite match. It's not just that he loves Beth, it's that he loves her unconditionally. No matter what she's been through, no matter how broken she feels, he sees her the same way he always has, as the woman he would give his life for. ###, Rip's journey, a man who earned his place. Rip's likability doesn't just come from his relationship with Beth. It's also rooted in his backstory. Unlike the Dutton children, Rip wasn't born into power or privilege. He came to the ranch as a broken boy, having killed his own abusive father in self-defense. John Dutton took him in, but he never treated Rip like a true son, at least not in the traditional sense. Instead, Rip had to earn his place, working harder than anyone else, proving his loyalty time and time again. This makes Rip the ultimate underdog of Yellowstone *, which only adds to his appeal. He isn't entitled, he doesn't expect anything to be handed to him, and he never complains about his lot in life. He simply works, fights, and loves with everything he has. In a family full of characters struggling with their identities, Rip knows exactly who he is, and that certainty makes him incredibly compelling. ###, the code of honor that sets him apart. Rip's moral code is another reason why he stands out. While he isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, he does so with a clear purpose. Unlike Jamie, who manipulates and schemes, or Case, who is often indecisive, Rip's actions always stem from a deep-rooted sense of duty. He doesn't kill for power or revenge. He kills to protect the people and the land he loves. Even in his most violent moments, there's an undeniable honesty about Rip. He doesn't pretend to be something he's not. He knows he's a brute, but he also knows that sometimes, in the world of Yellowstone *, being a brute is necessary. And yet, despite all the blood on his hands, he still finds a way to love Beth with all his heart.